What if I told you that the woman who became the world's most famous pilot started by building a death trap in her backyard? And what if I told you she did it because everyone kept telling her what girls couldn't do? This is the story of how a Kansas tomboy became the woman who flew higher than eagles, and why her rebellion changed everything. Atchison, Kansas, 1907. While other girls played with dolls, Amelia Earhart was building a roller coaster that would make today's X Games athletes nervous. Picture this, a wooden track stretching from her grandmother's tool shed roof to the ground. No safety rails. No helmet. Just a 10-year-old girl in bloomers who looked at gravity and said, "I bet I can beat you." But here's what nobody tells you about that first ride. She flew. For exactly 3.2 seconds, Amelia Earhart was airborne. And in those 3.2 seconds, she discovered something that would change aviation history forever. She discovered she belonged in the sky. But that's the thing about dreams that big, the world has a way of trying to clip your wings. By age 20, Amelia was doing what proper young ladies did in 1917. She was a pre-med student, volunteering as a nurse's aide, following the path society carved out for girls like her. Therefore, she learned about anatomy, about precision, about staying calm under pressure. Skills that would later save her life at 14,000 feet. But in 1920, everything changed. At an air show in Long Beach, California, Amelia watched a little red plane dive straight toward the crowd. Instead of running like everyone else, she stood perfectly still. And later, she would say that little red plane spoke to her. It said, "This is where you belong." January 3, 1921. Amelia paid $10, her entire savings, for a 10-minute plane ride with pilot Frank Hawks. 10 minutes. 600 seconds. And in those 10 minutes, Amelia Earhart died. Not literally, but the version of herself that listened when the world said girls can't do that, was gone forever. Therefore, she started taking flying lessons. But here's what made her different from every other student pilot. She didn't just want to fly. She wanted to understand every bolt, every wire, every principle that kept her in the air. Because if she was going to break barriers, she was going to do it on her own terms. But learning to fly cost $1,000, more money than most families made in a year. So Amelia worked as a truck driver, a photographer, a social worker, anything to earn money for flying lessons. And every single job taught her something she'd need in the cockpit. Truck driving taught her to read weather. Photography taught her to see patterns from above. Social work taught her to stay calm when everything was falling apart. May 20, 1932. Amelia Earhart sat alone in her bright red Lockheed Vega in Newfoundland, Canada. Her destination, Paris, France. Her challenge, become the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She'd been married to publisher George Putnam for exactly 1 year. But she'd made him promise, marriage would never clip her wings. But 2 hours into the flight, everything started going wrong. Ice formed on her wings. Her altimeter stopped working. She couldn't tell how high she was flying. Flames started shooting from a crack in the engine manifold. Therefore, she did what she'd been training for her entire life. She stayed calm. She trusted her instincts. She kept flying. 14 hours and 56 minutes after takeoff, Amelia Earhart landed in a pasture in Northern Ireland. The farmer who found her asked, "Have you come far?" She smiled and said, "From America." The world went absolutely wild. Presidents called her. Kings invited her to dinner. Little girls everywhere looked up at the sky and thought, for the first time, maybe I could do that too. But here's what Amelia understood that makes her story so powerful even today. She knew she wasn't just flying planes. She was flying straight through the ceiling of what the world thought women could do. Today, 28% of STEM workers are women. Every single one of them is flying in the sky that Amelia cleared. When you see women designing rockets for Mars, remember, Amelia showed them the sky first. July 2, 1937. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, attempting to fly around the world, Amelia sent her final radio transmission, "We are running north and south but do not hear you." She disappeared that day. But here's the thing about legends who refuse to be grounded. They never really disappear. They just become the wind beneath someone else's wings. Amelia Earhart was once just a girl in Kansas who looked at the sky and refused to accept that it was hers to claim. The question is, what's your sky? And when are you going to stop letting the world tell you it's too high to reach? After all, every pilot starts by learning to fly.